perspective on Ida, we want to bring David back to weigh in for us tonight.
All right, David, if you're someone thinking about evacuating, obviously time running out, at what point do you need to leave and where should you go?
Well, first, let's remember we've got a lot of folks under a mandatory evacuation tonight. So I want to stress, if you've been told to evacuate, please heed those warnings, because your emergency managers fear there's going to be levee overtopping in those areas, or you're in areas that don't have levee protection at all. If you're not comfortable staying with the storm, you want to get on the road at daybreak tomorrow. I imagine we are going to probably have a significant amount of traffic on our freeways and highways, so you want to be careful to leave as early as possible. Now, this is the area we're saying to avoid in red. And if you think about it, the track is going to be something like this up Interstate 55. So it could be bad to the west and especially to the east. Now, if you go to the east, we feel good about places like Montgomery and Atlanta. And of course, somebody said, can I go to Tallahassee? Yeah, you can go to Tallahassee. If you go west, recommend going to Texas or far northwest Louisiana, perhaps to Little Rock. Those seem like the best choices.
And you know, we know that this storm's got the very perfect environment to not only survive, but to even strengthen. Very warm water, obviously a key factor. But how important, David, is the depth of that hot water?
Yeah, we're talking about two types of water here. What I'm showing you right now, these are the sea surface temperatures, all right? The red, the dark red here, that's 86 degrees. Look at this purple, 87 degrees. And we normally need, what, 80 degree plus water to sustain a hurricane. The Gulf is plenty hot for that. But we want to look beneath the surface to the depth of the heat of the ocean, and we look at our ocean heat content. And you've heard over the years probably about the loop current. It kind of comes and goes. Here it is. This year it's there. Last year it wasn't very prevalent. That means the depth of the ocean heat goes way down, and that allows for additional energy for the hurricane to feed on. And the storm goes right over the loop current, a 2, a 3, and then you have a 4. So that can make a big difference in what Ida's potential is going to be.
All right, now play history, Professor, for us. How rare is it for a Cat 4 140-mile-per-hour storm to make landfall on the Louisiana coastline?
Okay, well, let's assume, and let's hope it doesn't happen this way, but let's assume the forecast verifies and a Category 4 strikes Terrebonne Parish. First of all, it'll be the strongest storm for Terrebonne Parish since Betsy in 1965. We only have 5 instances since the mid-19th century of Category 4 or 5 winds in Louisiana. The only time we've had Category 5 winds, Lower Plaquemines Parish with Camille in 1969. Otherwise, we have the last island hurricane, the Chenier Caminada, Betsy, and just last year, 150-mile-per-hour Laura striking southwest Louisiana. If this happens, and gosh, let's hope that's not the case, it would indeed be very rare.
All right, yeah, so really interesting information there. Thanks so much, David.
Hurricane Ida made landfall officially at Port Fourchon as a Category 4 hurricane with sustained winds of 150 miles per hour. As predicted by the National Weather Service, this is one of the strongest storms to make landfall here in modern times.
This is the time to stay inside. Do not venture out. No sightseeing. This is very serious. We need you to stay in from this point forward all morning, all afternoon, all evening. Now is the time that we have been preparing for and even waiting for as it relates to Hurricane Ida. Again, this is the time. Heed all warnings. Ensure that you shelter in place, you hunker down.
Once the storm has passed, you need to be prepared to shelter in place for the first 72 hours. You should know that the entirety of the Louisiana National Guard has been activated, and currently more than 4,900 guardsmen are out in support of current operations. And I know it may not seem this way right now for many people out there across our state.
Heavy traffic today on I-10 in New Orleans as people tried to get out of the city before Hurricane Ida makes landfall tomorrow. Others were stocking up on necessities. Forecasters say the storm is expected to bring 130-mile-per-hour winds, a dangerous storm surge, and flooding rain. Ida is forecast to come ashore on the 16th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina hitting the Gulf Coast.
Prepared for damaging wind, power outages, heavy rain, tornadoes. What I am told is that this storm in no way will be weakening.
President Biden has already signed a disaster declaration for Louisiana. People and supplies are in place to deliver food and to help restore electricity after Ida moves through. And
we're in a very dangerous place with our hospitals, as you know. Yesterday's count, we still have 2,450 in our hospitals with COVID, on top of all of the other individuals who are in our hospital. And quite frankly, evacuating our tier 1 hospitals is not going to be an option. There aren't hospitals with the capacity to take them. And so making sure that they can maintain power and water, have access to all of the food that they need, and oxygen and other things is going to really consume a lot of our time and attention, because we know that the lights could be out, power could be out for weeks. I know the storm is focused on Southeast Louisiana, but we're going to be sheltering people across the state in big numbers and for quite a time, it appears. And the challenge there is, or the challenges you always have, but additionally COVID, because you don't really want to keep people in a congregate shelter any longer than absolutely necessary.
Hurricane Ida batters Louisiana. Conditions worsened in New Orleans Sunday night when the entire city lost power. Entergy New Orleans blamed the storm for catastrophic transmission damage that left the entire city in the dark. No answer yet on when the power will be restored. Ida made landfall earlier Sunday near Grand Isle, Louisiana, as a Category 4 storm with winds of 150 miles an hour. The only road out of the city was under 6 feet of water. Buildings housing emergency services were also underwater. It struck on the 16th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. The storm shredded buildings as the eye wall moved on shore. In Cutoff, Louisiana, the storm blew the roof off the Lady of the Sea Hospital. Ida is weakening as it moves inland, but it's still wreaking havoc. In La Plaze, about 2 hours north, streets turned into rivers. More than 800,000 people in Louisiana were without power late Sunday. More than 20,000 in Mississippi.
pour rain. This has switched from a damage surge maker, a wind damage maker, now to a rain maker and a flood event. We have so many counties here that are under flash flood warnings or flash flood emergencies. All these red squares or octagons, those are all flash flood warnings and flash flood emergencies right now. Here's how we got here. Yesterday morning, offshore, making landfall very close to Port Fourchon. But the eye wall, the worst of the eye wall, was over Grand Isle. I'm really afraid what I'm going to see when we get some pictures out of there in Grand Isle. It may look a lot like Mexico Beach did with Michael, a significant damage. And then we saw it here just south of Houma, doing so much damage where Derrick is, finally to the west of New Orleans, and then finally now moving up into parts of Mississippi. Tornado watch is still in effect. Tornadoes are still possible today. There goes the storm off the East Coast by Thursday into Friday. A lot of rainfall, maybe 4 to 6 inches of rain still coming down. But this is a graphic that is on my Twitter feed, and I hope you could go there and read it if you really want to learn something about the wind damage. A Category 1, we're going to call it 1 times multiplier. That's a Category 1 75-mile-per-hour storm. You get to a Category 3, it's 30 times more powerful and potential for damage than a Category 1. You get down to Ida. Ida was 256 times more potential damage than a Category 1 75-mile-per-hour storm. That's what people are going to be waking up to today. When we get some pictures, we're not going to like them.
No, yeah. So look, it's not just a 4, it's a strong 4 that it made landfall at. And I do just wonder, do you think that I know you're waiting for the pictures, so we really don't have a grasp on what this storm has wrought at this point.
We really don't. I mean, a lot of it was what we call marsh and ditch land, especially when it got over Grand Isle. That's why it didn't slow down when it got to Derrick's position there in Houma. Didn't slow down much even until it got to the west of New Orleans, where winds there were somewhere between 100 and 110. Gusts along Lakefront Airport in New Orleans proper, 90. So this storm was still a big storm as it was moving onshore because it was running over water. It was running over the swamps and the ditches. As our general honorary would like to say, boy, there's no land down there, that's swamps and ditches. And that water in those swamps and the ditches, it's warm. It's not any cooler than the ocean or the Gulf of Mexico, so that's why the storm did not slow down like a typical landfalling hurricane that does hit land.
5 miles to the southeast of Baton Rouge. Let me show you this. Let me show you this power outage map across that area. So all of that red, essentially, again, the entire city of New Orleans has no power. The only thing providing would be some generators in some areas. And we have some live shots to show you of dark New Orleans now. So you can see a couple of lights here and there, but really the entire city powerless as those 100+ mile-per-hour winds move through New Orleans and continue to do so. Wind gust right now around 80 miles per hour. There's kind of a view that shows you how breezy it is in New Orleans right now. Again, gust around 80. This is still a Category 3 storm. This is expected to be downgraded to a 2 by the next hour, then a 1 overnight, 75-mile-per-hour winds by 1 o'clock, then a tropical storm tomorrow morning.
Way up a little bit further, we're gonna see some more of this, and we're gonna see a lot of it. So I also want to mention too the Ascension. Oh, here's where that tree is covering the road here. It comes up quick. These roads are dark. These people have lost power out here. So we're going to continue down. Oh, here's another one. Here's a big limb that kind of goes over both sides of the road here. So if you are, and a down power line. Can you guys see that? Okay, yeah, we're going to carefully make our way over this. Now, all of these homes are without power. None of them have power right now. So we're trying to be extra cautious. You should really do the same as well. The Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office is making their way around, multiple of them along the road, just kind of making sure everyone is staying safe. They're kind of monitoring the power lines and whatnot as debris and trees and whatnot. As far as barricades, we haven't seen any barricades yet as well, but look at all that debris in the roadway, completely covered. We're also noticing more cars on the road this morning. We're seeing people coming out of their homes with flashlights, assessing the damage. Many people maybe doing that this morning as well. So we're going to continue down this road, but yeah, we're going to send it back over to you guys.
Close towards Destrehan, we've still got a flash flood warning in effect for both St. John the Baptist and St. Charles Parish. If you look at this radar picture, though, Peyton and Tamika have heard me mention this a lot. What we're watching is something that we call the fetch. And you can see this fetch of moisture. You see it here? This fetch of moisture that is now moving its way across coastal southeast Louisiana and into the Mississippi coast. This band of rain is still going to be capable of producing rainfall rates of 2 to 3 inches per hour, and I really hope that we don't see this expand closer to the metro area. Soils are very saturated. Sometimes with this band of rain, that fetch, that tail end of this moisture, especially along the Mississippi coast. Look at Hancock and Harrison County. Let me put a estimate here.
Yeah, Scott, I was about to say this band looks never ending to me.
So look at these rainfall amounts. These are only 12 hours. Let me see if I can get you a 24-hour look at this, and I would have to go to some of these settings here.
Well, Scott, a couple of people were asking about tornado warnings and watches. Could those still be possible today?
Okay, look at this. I just put it. Yes, there is. And the tornado threat, especially for Mississippi, we've still got a tornado potential throughout coastal Mississippi and southeast Louisiana. Do you see these numbers behind me, this scale? These may be underdone. We were talking about the potential. Remember yesterday on air, I was showing forecast models that said some areas could see 10 to 20 inches of rain. We hoped that those numbers would not verify, but in a lot of spots, we did have some numbers within that range, if not even higher, in some of these locales. I'm going to try to put an estimate on some of these numbers. Close towards Manchac, 14 inches of rain. Doppler radar indicated over parts of where we had the high water rescues close towards Laplace and Destrehan.